Welcome back to episode 2 of The Slice, presented by AFLPLAY.
Always play your way, kids.
I'm Rog.
And I'm Starr.
And we're going to be bringing you a slice of your local football community every single week.
But the slices don't stop there, because we're also going to be bringing you content about everything else that we all go through in life. A slice of life, really. That's what we're here for.
There are so many parallels between football and everyday life. And I know in your world, right, football wouldn't come up at all. But you would be surprised the lessons you learn from footy, everything you take away from playing on a Saturday down at your local club, it couldn't be any more involved in your everyday life when you really boil it down.
Mate, I feel like after spending all this time with you, every week I'm just leveling up with my footy knowledge anyway.
Well, let's get stuck into it. It's a slice.
Oh, how's your week been, Rog?
Never better, Star. How's your been?
It's been good, and I love that you're always so positive. You know, we come in here just with a beaming smile, radiant positive energy. But, you know, even though things are good, it's still important that we report on some of the things that maybe aren't so amazing.
The highlights and the lowlights.
Yes, or the 6 points and the 1 point, as we like to call it.
The goals and the behinds.
That's
you're
it.
Spot on. I'm glad you remembered from last week. That's impressive.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, mine was from a couple weeks ago, but I had to bring it up.
Oh, you're saving all the good stories for me.
I just had to talk to you about it because it was not just the highlight of my week, but possibly the highlight of my year. So I had to tell you. Now, I'm sure a lot of the people watching this may be familiar with the Marmalade Boys from Instagram and TikTok. But if you are not familiar with the Marmalade Boys, they're 3 lads, Checkers, Stray and Jim. Jim still lives in Adelaide, but Checkers and Stray moved down to Melbourne and they're living with me. So my housemates are Checkers and Stray. And these 2 guys are a couple of the funniest, wildest, most lovely guys you'll ever meet. And they've made a cult following on Instagram and TikTok about playing reserves football and drinking chalky milk. Do you like your chalky milk?
I love chalky milk.
We
chalky
all
milk's the best.
love chalky milk. And I can't believe, you know, in a world where there's so much divide, the one thing that's brought everyone together has been chalky milk. It's the best culture. Anyway, they do play the bottom division of reserves football in Adelaide. And it's called the Div 12 Rezzies. And it's what made the name for themselves. You know, they got on the Today Show with Carl Stefanovic. They've been all over the news just because people love watching these guys who have no idea how to, or aren't very good at playing footy, treat it as if it's the AFL. Anyway, not long ago, we played the biggest game of Div 12 Rezzies ever. It's their last game they were ever going to play in Adelaide because they've moved down to Melbourne. So they made an event, and the whole concept was, let's make the lowest quality of football ever seem like an AFL grand final.
That is so fun.
So there was food trucks, you know, energy drink companies came down. We had entertainment, DJs, and we didn't know how many people would come, but they were pumping it up on the radio during the week. Different radio stations were jumping on board. And we thought, gee, this could be pretty big. I flew over from Melbourne to play the game in Adelaide. We signed a bunch of random, like, Aaron Gox, who's a comedian. We signed Mark Crosgrove, who used to play cricket for South Australia. Just the most random people come together for the biggest game of Div 12 Rezzies ever. And 5,000 people rocked up for the lowest game of football that would normally get 12 people there.
Was there even space for that many people?
You need to see, if you haven't seen the video, go look it up on TikTok or Instagram, the Div 12 Rezzies. It was honestly breathtaking. Like the highlight of the game, and this is my 6-pointer, and it's a literal 6-pointer, is Stray, my main man, the best bloke of all time, little sweetheart, had never kicked a goal in his life before, and the whole country has gotten behind Stray. They've fallen in love with him, and they all came not just for the Div 12 Rezzies, but specifically to watch Stray kick his first goal. And we were getting pumped by 100 points because, like I said, we were the worst team, and we're playing the top team in the bottom division. Pumped by 100 points, but no one cared. Everyone was having fun because they were drinking chalky milk and they were just there to watch Stray kick a goal, his first goal, and we thought, will it happen? But sure enough, first ball up of the last quarter, we win the hit out, we pump it long inside 50, the whole crowd collectively shuts their mouth and holds and pauses and takes a breath and goes, will he slot this straight through the high diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle? Sure enough, he collects it, pumps it through, and before you had enough time to process what was going on, 5,000 people swarmed the ground. It looked like when Lance Buddy Franklin kicked his 1000th goal in the AFL for Sydney. It was incredible. He was crying. His family were crying. It was honestly the most magical moment, and that was my 6-pointer.
I feel like you just told that story so well. I really felt like I was there.
It was honestly like not a lot. properly takes my breath away. But that was like, once again, the power of community football. And to see 5,000 plus people and all the people watching on the live stream, which were thousands as well, getting behind a bloke who's never kicked a goal before.
That's what, so special.
That's what local community football is all about, celebrating the little wins like that, you know. But my one pointer was that I was amped for this game, and I thought me, like, arrogant, even though I only played Division 2 Resi's here, I thought, Division 12, I'm going to walk out, they had a best on ground medal. I'm like, I'm going to collect my first ever best on ground medal. But in the first quarter, I go to lay a tackle and I dislocate or tear my shoulder, pops out. So for the rest of the game, I'm just hobbling around on the one shoulder, still, you know, laying tackles and getting in there. But the one pointer is the bung shoulder, but that doesn't even begin to compare to the 6-pointer of Stray kicking his first goal.
Is your shoulder okay?
Nah, it's been bad. I'm not the sort of, this is, do as I say, not as I do, because I don't go to the doctor for this sort of stuff. I broke my ankle. I never got it sorted, and it's going to be stuff forever. So I might need to get this one checked out.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, I have FOMO. I really want to be there, and I also really want to get some chalky milk now.
Yeah, well, you can. We have a fully stocked fridge at our place, so feel free to come around whenever. But alas, what was your 6 points and your 1 pointer?
Okay, my 6-pointer and my 1 pointer, mine are also related like yours. Mine kind of happened within the same story. So my 6-pointer is that if you don't know, my Apple Watch is like my entire personality. I'm very passionate about closing my rings. And if you have an Apple Watch, I'm sure you can relate.
Closing a ring?
So you set your goals. So you would be like, X amount of minutes of exercise a day. Like, this is how much I want to move. So as you work throughout the day, you do your exercise, you're just kind of like living your life, slaying the day. That's how you close your rings.
You ever like be a long way off closing your ring, so you just strap it to your Jack Russell and just let it do a few laps of the garden? And
I am an honest woman,
you are.
Rog, but that is going to lead me to my point in the story very soon. So on the Apple Watch, you can do challenges with people. So you do a little 7-day challenge with whoever you've got as a friend. By the way, if anyone wants to add me as a friend on Apple Watch, please DM me because I want to verse you. We'll get to the rest of the story now. So I've been versing my friend on Apple Watch, and like, I'm a pretty active person. You know, I love my hot girl walks. I love training in the gym. I love lifting heavy. So I'm thinking I am going to slay this competition. Like there's like, my friend has literally no chance at winning.
You are one of the most competitive people, and I love that, to get the best out of yourself. It's like, without having someone going up against you, you couldn't possibly get your steps up, but knowing someone else is going against you, get it done without even thinking.
I was like, I will walk everywhere so I win. Yeah. So yesterday, I'm thinking, I haven't checked how many points I've accumulated throughout the day, but I'm like, surely I'm winning. Like, I've gone on like 4 different walks today. I've done all of this. I open up the Apple Watch app and I check. And my friend has more points than me.
Ooh, well, how sure are you that they're just not putting in more hours than you?
Well, I can check.
Oh,
I can literally check. Every single stat is there, and I can see exactly what they've been doing every day.
Something we say in football a lot, Star, is the stats don't lie. And if they ultimately they say they've done more rings or closed more rings or Olympic rings, whatever it may be, then I feel
Olympic
like they have.
rings? So it started off as my 6-pointer because I love a competition. I love my Apple Watch. I love being active. Now we're transcending into the 1-pointer. So I'm thinking there's something a bit suspicious going on here.
Foul play, you reckon?
Yes, foul play. Is my friend cheating at the Apple Watch competition? So then I do a bit more investigating. I go to Google.
Oh, what a good place to go if you want to find something out. You've gone to the right place. I Google
how to get points in an Apple Watch competition.
Oh, no.
You know what it's based off? You know how I said at the start, you set your goals and you have like, this is how much I want to move. It goes off how much of a percentage you earn over what your goal is. So if your goal is like 5 minutes of exercise a day and you do 30, you're already winning by so much. So here's me with high goals as it is on a day-to-day basis. And then my friend, their goals are like half of what mine are. So no wonder they're winning, even though I've done 95 minutes of exercise and they've only done 40.
Don't get bitter, get better, Star, is a lesson we always learn playing footy. Don't go down to their standards and go set your goal as like a little 5-minute stroll. Stay where your standards are and smash them anyway. Hey, let them have their low standards and you still blow them out the water.
Okay, fine.
That's
I was just going to put my exercise down to 1 minute, then I could win.
Or dude, to be honest, that I was trying to give you some good advice, but that is actually what I would do.
No, I'm just gonna go even harder. So hopefully next week my 6-point will be that I've obviously won the competition, but I feel like I am blessed with this information now. So I'm just gonna, bring it into my little strategy and I'm gonna win. So just watch this space, guys. Watch this space.
Can't wait. Last week's Star, we gave Dan a little bit of advice at the tail end of our show about how he can get the best out of himself when he's in a little bit of a lull, in asking for a little bit of advice. And we gave it to him, and it was all around how to get yourself hyped and up and about. And what we landed on was making a bit of a playlist where you had your hype tunes, I had my hype tunes, and all of our viewers and listeners can add in their songs that get them hyped and up and about as well. So how do you get yourself hyped and up and about when you have a big event that you really need to get up and about for?
Well, first of all, just want to say I'm so excited about our playlist that we've made. And if you want to join the playlist, we've got the link in our description. So make sure you head there and also let us know what songs you want us to add, because this is a team effort, guys. A collaboration between all of us. We can't just be the ones choosing all of the songs.
I can't wait to listen to everyone else's songs because I feel like I've got the same hype playlist of like 6 songs that go on repeat. I'm keen to hear what alternate sort of music is out there that gets people up and about.
Expand.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your 6 songs that you've got on repeat?
Well, I have sort of 2 different modes when I want to get myself hyped and up and about, right? The first is a bit of nostalgia. And like I've said to you before, I grew up on WWE. So like I'd watch there and the entrances come out, the entrance music plays, and I feel like I'm Shawn Michaels. I feel like I'm Triple H and John Cena. So in there, I've got Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy. Do you know that song?
Is that like his entrance song?
I'm just a sexy boy. Sexy boy. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, right? So we've got that in there. We've got D-Generation X, some of my favourite wrestlers.
I know what John Cena's one is.
Yeah, we can put some John.
Can't see me. Is that John Cena?
Yeah, that's John Cena, except you're sort of like, you look more like you're fanning your face when it's a hot day and you need to cool down.
I just got my nails painted.
Yeah. It's more of a you can't see me type operation. But I've got some WWE songs in there. But then, I also love my favourite song in the world, Mr. Brightside. And everyone will say that gets overplayed. You hear it every time you're out and about. It's everyone's favourite song, supposedly. But it's everyone's favourite song for a reason, because it is the greatest song of all time.
That song slaps.
So a Mr. Brightside and a bit of WWE, and that's what makes me want to run through a brick wall. What about yourself, Star?
Through a brick wall. Okay, so my number 1 PB song, if I'm going for like a big lift in the gym, is definitely Without Me by Eminem.
Wow.
But then I also... One thing about me is if I go to a musical, I become obsessed with the soundtrack from musicals.
You may be surprised to hear I love musicals.
We should go to one.
I am passionate about them.
Well, then you'll enjoy this. So I went to see the musical Hamilton at the start of the year.
Classic.
So I listened to the Hamilton soundtrack.
I have no issues with that. A bit of Lin-Manuel Ferrero.
Yes.
Get him pumping. Absolutely.
Imagine if Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote a song about the AFL.
Oh, that's what we need, an AFL musical written by Lin-Manuel. And that would really get everyone up and about. But yeah, a bit of Hamilton in there.
Yes, bit of Hamilton in there.
That is elite.
Just putting it out to the universe, I would be happy to star in the AFL musical.
Yeah? Okay,
yes.
What role do you think you're playing?
Obviously the commentator. Commentator / wag.
Oh, you're playing dual roles.
Bit of like an anti-wag kind of vibe.
What about a story arc where you start as the wag, but then you realise you can play the game yourself, and then you become the gun full forward, gun midfielder, and you win a premiership?
Yes, and then I sing a big ballad and everyone gives me a standing ovation because I'm so talented.
Lin-Manuel, get it sorted. Absolutely. So you got your Hamilton.
Yes.
You've got a bit of Eminem, and that's what gets you hyped and up and about. When you get hyped, most of the time it's because you're so excited, or maybe even because you're really nervous or anxious for a big gig or whatever you may be getting up to. Do you remember the last time you were particularly nervous or excited and you needed to get yourself hyped and in that zone?
Yeah, it happens all the time. And it's funny that you bring up like the nervous, excited, anxious, because sometimes what happens for me is I really struggle to differentiate between those feelings, because I feel like they often present in a very similar way. So maybe like, you get the butterflies in your tummy, your heart rate's going to increase, and you're like, wait, what is actually happening right now? I need to check in with myself. Like, am I feeling scared or am I feeling excited? And Rog, I have a question for you. How do you how do you differentiate between them? And is it a good thing to be feeling those both at the same time?
Well, it's really natural, obviously. And I don't fact check me because I only heard it or read it online. So it could not be true. But I like to believe it is that nerves and excitement are actually the same feeling. It's just how your mind is interpreting them that decides what the actual emotion is, whether you are excited or whether you are nervous. And I'm very lucky. I'm not someone that does get nervous or does get anxious really ever, but I do get really excited. And that's because any opportunity to get nervous comes from a place of fear that you might bugger up, you might embarrass yourself or whatever, but any opportunity you've got where it could go wrong, there's an equal or greater opportunity for it to go right. So I get excited visualizing when I kill it and how excited I'm going to be for myself and how stoked I'm going to be after I absolutely nail this gig. So if you change your mindset and you get excited rather than nervous, I think that might take you to the promised land.
I love that. That's such I'm going to really take that on every day.
And like the second aspect to that is if you're feeling pressure, and this is what my great mate, Caden McDonald, my best mate, always says to me, pressure is a privilege. So you're feeling the pressure. That's because you're in a spot you've worked hard to be at and you've given yourself the opportunity to impress. So don't feel bad about your pressure. It's an absolute privilege that you've gotten yourself in that spot. Take it on board because not many people get to that point.
You were just so full of wisdom. I love it. And you know what? Like when I think back to the moments where I've been really nervous it doesn't have to be like a big gig. It could be anything in your life that you are excited or nervous for, something that means a lot to you. I sometimes start to tell myself these worst case scenario things in my head, so the anxiety coming through being like, what if this happens? What if that happens? And if I think back on it with the power of hindsight, the worst case scenario that I told myself in my head, it's actually not even really that bad. It's like, so what if you stuff up?
Yeah.
So what?
And that's the best mindset to be in, because when you realize that even the worst case scenario, it may in your head seem like it's a big thing, but when you take a backward step and look at the bigger picture, you'll be fine, like no one else is going to think about it as much as you think about it. So stop thinking that you're going to bugger up and everyone's going to be there thinking, oh my God, I can't believe Starr did this. I can't believe Rog did this, because no one will be thinking that. You put the pressure on yourself. So release the shackles, be free, get excited for how you're going to kill it and how you're going to put your best foot forward. And I guarantee you, you'll be in a lot better headspace to get hyped and get up and about rather than be too nervous about it.
So step 1, put on our hype playlist. Step 2, look in the mirror and what do you say to yourself in the mirror?
Gee, you're handsome, Rog. No, I don't really talk to myself in the mirror. I'm not someone that does that, but I am someone that visualizes.
Yes.
Close your eyes. Don't look outward. Look inward. Visualize about how successful this is going to go and how proud of yourself you're going to be when you absolutely nail it.
Oh, I love that.
And that'll take you to the hype promised land.
Take you to the promised land. I'm going to start writing down all of your famous quotes. Take you to the promised land is one.
Yeah, to be honest, all of these were just things that you hear in the change rooms in the footy club. So you can credit me if you want, but I think there's 150 years of history that go behind these sayings. But I'm more than happy to take the credit. Once again, we have got the link posted here. So let us know what songs, and we can all get hyped and up and about and all together at once run through a brick wall.
So, Rog, you and I have had a big couple of weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, there have been lots of things coming up. It's actually been a very impressive couple of weeks for me.
Honestly, I still can't believe we're sitting here in the Slice studio.
What a privilege.
Lots going on. I would love to know, when something exciting happens in your life, who's the first person that you call?
Probably my best mate, Caden, is my first point of call. A lot of the viewers here will know the YouTuber Caden McDonald, but we love celebrating each other's good news. There are some times where you can have a friend or a friendship group where there's a bit of jealousy in there, or, sometimes you can have friends that want to bring you down a little bit. But Caden and I, we have such a great relationship where we just can't wait to tell each other the news and celebrate it with each other. Sometimes the last person I like to call, I love to tell her good news, but my mum is such a stress head, so I'll tell her, how good's this? I got this exciting new show out in Sydney, and she doesn't for a second think about the show. She's like, oh, make sure you don't lose your things at the airport. I'm like, why are we talking about that? How about yourself?
I definitely call my bestie, her name's Elle. She is hilarious, and she loves a FaceTime as well.
Right.
She's the type of friend who just FaceTimes me when she's like brushing her teeth or like folding. She just is doing the most random things always. But I want to go back to your mum for a close second. So your mum's usually the last person you'd want to call because she's a bit of a stressor.
Yeah, Dad's the opposite. He's a celebrator. He gets up and he can get a bit carried away sometimes. You know, I'll tell him that I'm going for a 1K walk and he tells all of his mates to run a marathon. But my mum is a bit the opposite. She stresses out about everything.
Have you ever played a prank on your mum before?
Yeah, I have done once or twice before and it did not end well. She gets a bit grumpy.
Well, this is going to be fun because we're learning a lot about each other today, and you have to know I do love a prank.
Do you?
I love a prank.
You're a prankster.
One of 7 kids. I grew up always playing pranks on my siblings, but I guess the key to a good prank is, of course, that nobody gets hurt.
Of course.
So I'm thinking that we should prank call your mum.
I think that can be a fun idea. I hope that this doesn't get me cancelled because there are times where when I'm being a bit silly to her, she can really let me know about. Like my mum's Filipino, and I don't know if you've ever seen the Asian mums before, but they can tee off if you step a little bit out of line. So I'm happy to ring her. What do you want me to say?
Okay, I reckon you should call her and deliver some news. The actual news you're going to deliver is going to be really mundane and really boring, but I want you to sell the story like it's the most exciting thing that's ever happened to you.
To be honest, I do this in day-to-day life normally. I make people feel that up and about the most boring of stuff. So, all right, I'll call her and I'll think of something that I can get her excited about, but I guarantee her she will shut it down profusely. But I like the challenge. Madre, how you going?
Good. What's up?
Oh, just still in Sydney at the moment, but I've got some pretty unbelievable news.
Like what?
Well, you know that
Married.
getting married. I've only been here for one night. How quickly do you think I fall in love?
Come on, give it to me.
All right. So, as you know, I walked into the new studio today. That excited, walked in, recorded the episodes, went sensationally. But how's I leave the studio and I'm getting ready to head back to the airport, and before I leave, I've got about half an hour to kill, and the producer comes over to me and says, "Would you like a coffee?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I would." But as you know, like I've worked in that many offices and they never have my favorite milk. So I said to her, "Could I please have oat milk?" And she goes, "Of course, yeah, of course we have oat milk." And she brought me back a coffee with oat milk, and it was the most unreal tasting coffee I've had.
That's a good news.
Well, it gets even better because then she said, because the coffee was a bit bitter, dried me out, she said, "Would you like a water?" And I jokingly said, because I didn't think they'd have it, "Yeah, coconut water, please." And she comes walking straight in with a whole litre of coconut water. So I had an oat latte and a coconut water, Mum.
What the what are you doing to me?
What do you mean? Oat latte and a coconut water?
Is that all your good news?
Yeah, I mean, do you have oat lattes and coconut water at your work?
Yeah.
Oh, well then
Always have-
we're both doing really well, Ma.
Okay, well, what time can I get home?
I'll be home later on tonight, Ma. I love you heaps.
Love you.
All right, catch him
Bye.
up. Bye. She wasn't too impressed, was she? She wasn't too impressed.
Oh, I'm actually crying.
Was not happy with that as well.
Just like, that's your big news.
Wasn't a fan of the oat milk chatter. Mum.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, we might have to put a little beep in there. I don't know how well that'll go down, but I'll keep that in mind. I won't tell Mum any more subpar news, I reckon. All right, so I've put myself in the firing line there with Mum. Wasn't too impressed, and I don't think she'll ever believe me as well. Almost boy who cried wolf. Next time, I'll actually have some unreal news. I've won Powerball, and she'll go, "This isn't another oat latte story."
Yeah,
is
she's
it?
like, not the coconut water again, please.
But next week, I think it's only fair that you're under the gun next time, and maybe we can ring someone in your family with some very excited, very unimpressive news.
Okay, yep. I think I've got a few people in mind, so we can reconvene next week. Oh, don't stitch me up too hard though. Don't.
We'll see if they're as unimpressed as my beautiful mother was.
Now we are up to my favourite part of the pod, which is a little segment called the handy point.
Yes.
I learnt last week what a handy point is.
Do you remember what it is?
Yes, it is. It's if you were about 6 up in the game, and yes, 6 up is great, but if the other team was to score, then they could be
Level.
level.
Yeah.
So if you score a handy point, it's that one that one goal on the side in the little tubes.
Yeah. The little posts, the tubes will do.
It's a handy point because then that gets you up and then the other team would have to score twice to beat you.
Bang.
Yay!
Spot on the money. That is, you pass this test.
But on the slice, what the handy point is you guys send in your questions to us. We've got a little listener question here. So thank you so much to the person who sent this in, and make sure you drop yours in the comments below. Or you can email us at theslice@thisisamplified.com because we want to help you.
Absolutely we do. Who we got this week?
Oh, okay. Here we go. This is from Steph.
Beautiful.
Hey, Connor and Star. I'm 15 years old and have noticed that all my friends have really started to step up their style game. Whenever we hang out on the weekend or there's a no uniform day, my whole friendship group brings their fashion A game. They even can make our school uniforms look cool just by the way they wear them. It started to make me feel very aware of how unfashionable I am. Steph! It's never been something I've really cared about, but I feel like compared to them, I must look so daggy. Any advice on stepping up my style game? Oh, Steph.
Yeah, I feel like you are more of a fashionista than I reckon. I think you get more points in the style game, don't you?
Stop
What
it.
is the word that you use? Is it slay?
Oh, yes, slay.
You slay, I think, in your good kits.
Thanks, Rog. You slay too.
Oh, thank you. We all slay together. How did you go into high school, especially with finding? I feel like this is a question a lot about identity.
Yes.
You know, I think fashion is such an expression of who you are, expression of who your identity is. And high school is when you figure out who that is for the most part. Did you battle with that or have a struggle figuring out exactly who you were?
Absolutely. Like you said, I think that's really when you're figuring out the essence of who you are, and it's so easy to fall victim to the comparison trap and look at what Sally's wearing in the English class and be like, maybe I should be wearing that. But it's so important to remember that, like you said, fashion is so individual. It's a way of expressing who you are. And if you don't quite know who you are yet, then that's fine. But I think the most important thing is that you wear things that make you feel comfortable. And a lot of the stuff I wear, like my best friend would never wear that. We are like polar opposites. I'm always in bright colors. I mean, look what I'm wearing today, and she's always monochrome. And that's fine because that's everyone's individual vibe. And with the school uniforms, like school uniforms are daggy. You know, it's nothing that you're doing wrong at all. I remember when I was in school, there was a cultural movement in my school about when everyone went from wearing ankle socks to high socks.
Right.
And at the time, it felt like the biggest thing ever. It was like a statement to be like, I'm wearing long socks now.
Yeah.
Whereas now with the power of hindsight, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just socks. Wear whatever socks you want, you know. But if you're asking us, how do you start to develop your sense of style? I think there's amazing resources like on TikTok or on like, you know, YouTube or Pinterest, whatever. Start to kind of build out what your vibe is.
100%.
And remember, like, that's so different for everyone. And yeah, fashion's all about being like, by the way, I don't think I'm stylish. I don't really think I'm cool, but just try different things.
Yeah, I think it's important as well to not just conform to what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Find your own fashion, find your own identity. And it is a journey. Like in high school, I say that, but it's easier said than done. I would wear whatever anyone else was wearing. If skinny jeans was in, I'd have skinny jeans. If fringes was in, I would grow a fringe. And like, you know, even in school, going to school fashion, at a lot of schools it's different. At a lot of schools with the guys, you have to wear, well, you wear shorts even in the middle of winter, because if you wear pants, that's like lame. But at our school was the opposite. All the guys wore pants. Even in summer when it was 40 degrees, it was like you're considered a bit of a loser to wear shorts. But it's so silly. You look back now and you go, mate, if you're cold, wear pants. And if you're a bit warm, wear shorts. So I think you're getting a step ahead of the rest of your peers and your classmates if you don't worry too much about what everyone else is doing and you literally just do whatever makes yourself feel comfortable. But when it comes to your outdoors fashion and when you're going out and seeing your friends at the shopping centre, just experiment a bit. You know, you might not get it right straight away. You might go through a bit of a goth phase. You love it for a little bit. You figure out it's not you. And then you try out all these different things, and eventually it takes a bit of time. You figure out exactly who you are. So don't stress too much if you don't know yet, because you're not meant to. You're 15. You'll figure it out as time goes by.
I think once you figure out the things that you feel most comfortable in and you put them on, you're like, I feel really slay in this. The way I see of it is like you just wear the same thing in different fonts all the time. So for me, you guys will see me in all of these videos. I'm always wearing like flare pants like this with a looser top on the top and then some like fun, colorful shoes, just because I know that that's how I feel most confident. There's nothing worse than when you put something on, say if you wore exactly the same outfit because your friend wore it and then you're sitting there like feeling the clothes on your body. You just like want to live. You want to be able to run around. You want to be able to do whatever you want. So it's really just about trying those different things and, you know, go to like an op shop or something.
Yeah.
Go, like thrifting. I feel like a lot of people thrift in Melbourne, right?
It is a big culture and there's no wrong answer either with fashion, even in football. I remember going down to the footy club and at the start, like if you had your socks up, they was like, what are you doing your socks up for? Like keep your socks down. But then I was always a socks up person. I like my calves being warm. And then all of a sudden everyone was wearing the long socks. And at the start when people were wearing long sleeve jumpers instead of the short sleeve to play in, people were there going, why are you wearing the long sleeve for? By the end of it, everyone wanted to have a long sleeve jumper. So it ebbs and flows. Just do what's best for you. And in time, you'll figure out exactly who you are or who you want to present yourself as.
And also, Steph, I think, you know, you're looking at your friends and you're really looking up to them and admiring what they're wearing, but it's likely that they're doing the exact same thing to you. Like we all go through these things internally and it can be really hard to speak about them. I'm sure that, you know, your friend, you know, you wore a cool outfit to, you know, no uniform day or a party or something like that. And they're thinking, wow, like Steph looks really awesome today. But we never say those things to people. I think it's important. If someone's slaying, you should tell them, Rog, you're slaying.
Thank you, Star. Likewise, ditto. Especially in lads culture, you know, the boys. When someone went a bit outside the box and it went a bit tall poppy syndrome mode, so if someone was like, did something, you know, wore something that was a bit left field, there's a tendency amongst teenage boys to maybe take the mickey out of them and try and bring him back down a peg. But you give it a couple months and you persist with it, you watch all of your friends, it happened a million times in my group, your friends start wearing the things that you were wearing because you persisted with it and you were cool. So they mock you at first and then they imitate next. So just keep doing what you're doing. Alrighty, Star, time to all bring it in.
Bring it in, boys.
The final siren sounded and it's another great game for us, another great episode number 2 of The Slice. So make sure that you subscribe to AFL Play, comment, tell us what you loved, and make sure you come back next week because Star and I will be here for another episode of The Slice.
Can't wait. And make sure you check out our hype playlist. The link is in the description. See you next week.
The Slice, presented by AFL Play, is hosted by Star MCG and Connor Rogers.
The Slice is recorded and produced at Amplify Studios situated on Gadigal land. We pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land and waters in which we record on.